Greetings, everyone. And I figured I would actually do this video because I not only have over 60 subscribers now, but I believe I have over 70 or more friends. So I've got almost close to 150 people or less now that know me or have been friends or subscribers for me now. And I thought that I would actually do this video considering that other than the army of trolls that keep hating on my videos, I figured with Art of Conquest and how somewhat successful that was, and also now that you guys have helped me build a slightly more bit of confidence in myself, with actually allowing personal ideas and thoughts that I have to be expressed, I'm going to talk to you guys about a couple of ideas that I've actually thought about, have put on hold, have kind of scrapped. Well, not so much scrapped. I usually tend to quote-unquote delete the scrapped ideas out of my mind, or at least all the really, really bad ones anyway. But I'm rambling on. So consider this kind of a special deal for people that are a subscriber of mine. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the longest idea that I actually have, which is a video game idea. Now, with Justice League Heroes, I always liked that game, and then in playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, I looked at that game and I looked at Ultimate Alliance 1 and I thought, you know, I want another Justice League game from DC. And here's my proposed pitch idea. Now, I originally called it Justice League Heroes United. Now I'm going to call it Justice League Heroes and Villains United. Because I thought to myself, with the success of the Villains pack and also with people loving the character pack of playing Juggernaut as a single add-on character, but also the ideas of Carnage and Magneto and a couple of other villains that people wanted to play as, I got to thinking, if I created my own DC game that featured heroes and villains alike, what would the concept be? Who would be the characters? Well, the basic plotline of Heroes and Villains United is that Darkseid teams up with Lex Luthor. There you go, very stereotypical, bland comic book-esque team up. With Luthor Corp technology and Apocalyptian technology, Darkseid basically opens up a boom tube portal that he would use to time travel and go back to stop any of the Justice League members before they became the heroes that they were today, i.e., destroy Abin Sur's ship, and Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner would cease to exist, as well as all the other Human Lanterns. Stop Bruce Wayne's parents from being murdered, and there'd be no Batman. Kill a young Kal-El before Krypton even explodes and he makes it safely to Earth. Those kinds of things. However, Darkseid ends up screwing Lex over, and he goes, "Oh, I'm going to rewrite the entire world, the entire universe, blah blah blah." And it was from this idea, and then the idea of this is that Lex Luthor ends up calling Superman begrudgingly, because this is going to be a galactic threat that neither the Justice League nor any of the heroes in the DC universe can really handle. So, like the title says, all the heroes and villains of the DC universe are going to combine forces. Now, some of the playable heroes that I had were, of course, the stereotypical ones like Superman, Batman. Hal Jordan would be the Green Lantern that I used, and I tinkered around with it, but I think I would add in, because originally I had 25 characters, and even on the villains list I had 25, but I'm going to give my expanded choices. Excuse me. Okay, Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner. I would put Green Lantern Hal and Green Lantern Kyle. And I think Kyle Rayner would work because his constructs could be differentiated from Hal's. because Kyle is a much more imaginative version of Green Lantern. So I'd have Kyle Rayner and I would have Kyle Rayner and Hal Jordan possibly in there. I would have Wally West as my version of the Flash. Although I am very tempted to maybe make Barry Allen playable, or at least like have an alternate skin or whatnot. I don't know. These are just basic cliff notes that I have. Could even make Kyle actually an alternate skin for Hal, but once again, I'm rambling on, which is a bad habit that you guys seem to point out a lot. And I'm sorry, I get lost in my own thoughts. But anyway, moving on. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, although I would go with the Crystal Waterhand version of Aquaman, just because I liked the way that he played in Justice League Heroes, and also it would give Arthur a bit more of a power set, and it would make him much more viable as a character. Of course, you can't have a Justice League-esque game without Green Arrow. I think Oliver would fit in perfectly, as would Black Canary. I had other characters like Black Lightning, Firestorm, Metamorpho, Red Tornado, Jaime Reyes, which was the Blue Beetle that I chose. Still kind of tinkering around if I want Big Barda and Mr. Miracle to be playable characters. Do I want to have Michael Holton as a playable character? You know, I'm tinkering around with the idea of how Mr. Terrific's move set would really be, but I think that he'd be a pretty cool character to actually use. Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate would actually be pretty good as a playable hero. I think I actually had him on my list already. Vixen. Vixen was definitely one that I would love to put into the game. Captain Atom, and one that I tinkered at being playable, but I don't know if he would actually work properly. He would probably be way too overly powered and would probably fit more as an NPC character. But the Spectre was another one that I had. It was just a pretty long list, and oh yeah, Plastic Man was another one. Basically, I picked a very odd assortment of heroes, but then I picked kind of the who's who that people would expect. For villains, Lex Luthor, Barbara Ann Minerva's version of Cheetah, Sinestro, Jason Todd. I had Bane in here. I can probably find a way to fit in Catman, and then as like secret unlockable-esque characters was like Darkseid, Brainiac, Doomsday, The Shade, Amazo. I had could have Solomon Grundy in there. I picked probably some of the more random, like the who's who, but also some of the more random assortment of villains and heroes. NPCs, now central hubs, like headquarters areas, JLA Watchtower, the Bat Cave, the planet Oa. Let's see, other areas that I would have be playable. I mean, I had so many cliff notes and I had so many ideas written down that honestly I can't even remember half of them, which is kind of pathetic and sad, but you get the basic concept of where I'm going with this. And I thought to myself, but I'm just going to actually stop right there. Because I had a lot of interesting ideas, and I think one idea that probably would not be able to work is what I would call moments where you would have to fight every hero and villain. Now, within your party, or like fight villains to convince villains or heroes to try to convince them to join back up with you or bring them back to their senses, i.e., stopping Superman from trying to save the planet Krypton from being destroyed, or Bruce Wayne from saving his parents. Because as Darkseid's trying to reshape the universe in his image, he would basically be causing time paradoxes, and it would be affecting the characters, both mentally, emotionally, physically, etc. So I could go into in-depth on it, but I'll just leave it at that. If you guys have any questions, comments, if you think this is a stupid idea or a retarded idea, or if you think that's a very interesting concept that I have, just let me know in the comment box below. I'm interested to see, particularly with that idea, what you guys think. I think that's a pretty decent idea, but I'll leave that up to you guys. But anyway, I wanted to also, while I'm talking about DC, an update on my animated short writing for the Atom. I've debated, actually, it's going to be set during probably right around Watergate and the end of the Vietnam War. And so it may be like the late 70s, early 80s, somewhere within that time frame. I don't know who I would have as the villain, and I don't know how I would pull off the swindling thing, but I will actually thank Deadpoolzilla for coming up with that idea of setting it possibly in the 70s or 80s, because that will make his traveling through phone lines and jumping out the other end ability quite relevant. And I haven't really gotten started all that much when it comes to it. The funny part about me, guys, is that I aspire to be a comic book writer, yet I'm way too lazy to actually get up and just sit there and write and write and write. Kind of a little bit sad. And also, I write when the mood strikes me, which that's a very bad no-no if you want to be a writer. But it's just I can't really help that, not because of a sheer boredom or because of ADD. I got tons of cool story ideas. It's just I can never get around to writing them because usually I'm too exhausted to really want to put any effort into writing at all. And the fact that I actually just admitted that makes me feel kind of a little ashamed of myself. Oh well. Beggars can't honestly be choosers. But anyway. I have many other ideas. I actually had to scrap my Dead Man short idea, just because in my mind I thought that it wouldn't work, but I'll share it with you guys anyway. Who knows, maybe even Zip will get a kick out of how retarded I made this story. But originally I was going to have the son of a mafia boss and the daughter of another mafia boss, two rival bosses, and their children, the daughter and the son, were both in love. So either family tries to tear them apart. And pretty much Dead Man tries to stop this assassination. There's a part where where the son gets hit in a crossfire, and Dead Man has to face the Grim Reaper. He battles death himself. Yeah, Dead Man faces death. I don't think I need to tell you guys how stupid that concept was, and yet I ran with it, and I ran with it, and then I just scrapped it because I never got around to really honestly writing it. And also, I just thought there was no way in hell I could pull off a Dead Man story and make it sound good. I would not really honestly do justice to the character, in my own eyes, I felt. I felt in my eyes I couldn't do justice to the character. But then again, I think a lot of that also has to do with confidence. Because really, I'm not all that confident in myself, honestly. But I share these ideas with you guys because I figure, hey, it'd be something nice to do. But moving on to another, I'm moving on to another Batman story that I'm working on. I don't even know if I'll get around to writing it. But it's called Gotham, Blood Wars. And in this one, I started off in the past when Bruce Wayne's Batman, when he was... And it starts off with Batman chasing the Joker through the cathedrals of Paris, I believe, or something like that. I haven't really given the location yet. I've just had him coming out of a church bell with bats swirling all around them. And then it cuts to Gotham, where we find Dick Grayson as Batman. Yes, I want to do a Batman Inc. inspired story. Bruce Wayne being the international JLI Batman, and Dick being the JLA Gotham Batman. So, I haven't really gotten started on it. I've only got tidbits at the beginning, but I don't even know if, honestly, with a lot of these, because I do it all in Microsoft Word too. And I'm going to tell you something, Batman Art of Conquest, that video was, if you think that video was long, that would be the equivalent of 20 pages in a regular novel. Yeah, 20 pages worth in a regular novel. And that took me almost a half to a whole year to actually write. And a lot of it was procrastination and laziness, which those are the two bad things that I cannot do with writing. But yet I have all these ideas in my head, but yet I never want to write or express them. Do you see the common pattern here, people? I know I'm beating a dead horse to death here, but I'm just saying. I'm basically trying to say that I'm an aspiring writer, and yet I make no effort to want to try to write. I can't even doodle, so I can't even be an artist either. I am basically stuck in comic book hell, if you want to put it in that sense. Anyway, enough of the oh poor pitiful me like I've been doing for the majority of this video. On to other ideas. I had an idea for Hawkman, an idea for Thor. I've got quite a few comic book ideas, but then I had an original idea of mine. One original idea was the Gemini Centaurian, who was Brian Goodwin, who was an autistic superhero. He was a 20-year-old Asperger's syndrome superhero who was very similar to Shazam. It was kind of like if you mixed Richard Rider's Nova with Billy Batson's Captain Marvel in some ways. And it would be slightly more darker and gritty. And he would have like this intergalactic Spartan-esque, he would have this Olympian Spartan, warrior Spartan type look to him. I don't even know how to describe it. But he would be able to wield the flame of Olympus. He would have the strength of Hercules. He would have the wisdom of Athena. He would be able to spread the love and compassion of Aphrodite. He would have a strong sense of justice and be able to partially wield the lightning of Zeus. He would be able to fly and have the speed. He would basically have superhuman speed. He would not be able to fly, but he would have the superhuman speed, which would be attributed to Hermes, so he'd have the speed of Hermes, and he would also be able to communicate with the dead, another ability of Hermes. And he would basically have a battle mace, and in battle he would have basically the ferocity. He would have basically the ferocity and vigor of Ares. And when I say vigor, I mean literally Brian would be able to go and go and go. He would have like retarded stamina. This is a guy who could probably go toe-to-toe with Captain Marvel, Superman, or even just for a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit with the likes of the Hulk. And he would have the Mace of Ares, and Apollo, the sun god, would actually give him a shield, an indestructible shield at that. And the shield would be able to, and the shield would be so bright that it could pierce even the blackest of darkness. Now, I eventually altered to the idea of I had like basically a spoof comic book series idea called Jimmy Soto, aka Super Spider Dude. And he was supposed to be like this goofy version of Spider-Man. It was basically Peter Parker if he didn't even know how the fuck to use his powers. It's basically, he would have like multiple spider eyes that he would have to try to hide or cover up. He would have spider fangs that would inject venom. He would be able to shoot webs out of every orifice of his body, i.e. if he farted, a whole like ball of web would shoot out, or he would basically be able to shoot tiny silk weblets out of his fingertips. Basically, I mean, and he would have pretty much this old man, and I can't remember the old man's name, but the whole entire comic book series was supposed to basically spoof all the heroes like Spider-Man and Superman and Thor and all the other heroes. It was going to be like a joke comic book series that I had. And I'm sure F.W. Waller is going to be sitting there laughing, and I'm cringing mentioning this, but the first comic book character I ever came up with was the very first double to triple X-rated superhero, Rocket Ass. And oh dear God, let me share with you what Rocket Ass is. Rocket Ass was a superhero. I'm laughing before I even get to tell you guys. Rocket Ass, to put it basically, it's nothing but the whole comic book series is one big gigantic toilet humor shit jokes. He has one character named Madam Yeast. Yes, it had everything to do. Most of the characters were named after shit jokes, STD jokes, all kinds of other stuff. And I'm sure a lot of you are like, wow, that's dark and twisted. Yeah. Kind of didn't want to bring up Rocket Ass, but I know F.W. Waller was probably going to bring it up in the comments. So I figured I might as well say it myself. Yes, I came up with a double to triple X-rated comic book that will never be released. I had the whole mythology, and I'm not even going to explain to you people the whole premise of this character. All I need to tell you is Madam Yeast, the living shit-stained Larry who uses a Tommy gun that shoots suppositories, and that's all I really want to get into. And oh yeah, he has a sidekick called Diarrhea Boy, and he flies via the fart out of his almost cloud-induced shaped ass, and he's an alien. So yeah, as you can tell from this, wrapping this video up, as you can tell, I have a lot of warped ideas. I tend to be the most laziest writer in the world. But I hope to actually fix that. And also, I think a lot of my writing stuff and my writer's block and whatnot, I think a lot of it just has to do with confidence. But I think the more confident that I become, guys, especially with your support, I think the more I may actually push myself to want to try to go beyond what I actually feel I can do. And actually get around to actually writing these stories, and who knows, I might actually start getting better the more I write it. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to say thank you for subscribing. Please let me know in the comments below on some of the on your thoughts on some of the stuff that I've talked about. And no, I will not answer questions about Rocket Oh, I got cut off there before I could have an epic shout moment. But I will not talk about Rocket Ass in the comment box. Other than that, have fun, guys, and hope to see you again. Potato wedges!